You don't have a spending problem. You have a friction problem, and almost nobody has ever explained it to you this way. Here's what that means. Every time it's easier to spend money than to save it, you will spend it. Every single time. Not because you're weak, because your brain is wired to take the path of least resistance. Think about your own life for a second. Your card is saved on every app. One tap and it's done. No thinking, no pause. But moving money into savings? That usually takes logging in, transferring, confirming, waiting. Spending is one tap. Saving is 5 steps. Guess which one wins? This is the part almost nobody talks about. Behavioral researchers have a name for this. They call it friction, and it's one of the most powerful forces in personal finance, more powerful than discipline, more powerful than motivation. Here's a number that will change how you see your own habits. Studies on automatic savings programs found that when people were automatically enrolled into saving a small percentage of every paycheck, savings rates jumped dramatically, sometimes tripling, without those people making a single active decision. Nothing about their willpower changed. Only the friction changed. So if friction controls your behavior more than motivation does, that changes the entire strategy. You don't need more discipline to save money. You need to make spending harder and saving easier. That's it. That's the whole trick. But here's where it gets interesting, because this same principle explains something else. Why some people who earn very little manage to save consistently, while people earning 6 figures still live paycheck to paycheck. It was never about the amount coming in. It was about which behavior had less resistance in their daily life. Here's how the people who actually build savings do it, quietly, in the background, without ever feeling like they're restricting themselves. First, they remove the one-tap spending trap. They delete saved cards from apps they overspend on. Not because they're broke, because adding a small delay, even 30 seconds of typing in card numbers, is enough friction to make you pause and ask if you actually want this. That 30-second pause is where impulse purchases quietly die. Second, they automate saving before they ever see the money. The moment a paycheck arrives, a percentage moves out automatically, before it ever touches their everyday spending account. They're not choosing to save every month. They remove the choice entirely, which means there's no willpower required, because there's no decision left to make. Third, they rename their savings account something they can't rationalize spending. Not savings. Something specific. A goal. A future. Something that makes pulling from it feel like breaking a promise instead of just moving numbers around. Fourth, and this one surprises people, they increase the friction around the things that quietly drain the most money. Subscriptions that renew without a second thought. Food delivery apps saved on the home screen. One-click checkout on shopping sites. Each of these was designed by a company, on purpose, to remove friction from your spending, because less friction means more purchases. You're not fighting your own weakness. You're fighting a system engineered against you. Here's the twist. None of this requires more income. None of this requires a strict budget you'll abandon in 3 weeks. It requires redesigning your environment so the easy choice and the smart choice become the same choice. Most people try to fix their spending by fighting themselves every single day. Willpower against temptation, over and over, until they burn out and give up. The people who actually save aren't fighting harder. They built a system where they don't have to fight at all. There's a reason this matters more than any budgeting spreadsheet ever will. A budget relies on you remembering it, checking it, following it, every day, forever. Friction design works even on the days you forget it exists. It works while you sleep. It works when you're distracted, tired, stressed, all the moments when willpower usually collapses. So before you download another budgeting app, or promise yourself you'll try harder next month, ask a different question. Where in your life is spending easier than saving? Fix that gap, and the discipline problem disappears on its own. The money was never the hard part. The friction was. Change where the friction sits, and watch what happens to your savings without ever feeling like you gave anything up.